All right. I think we are there. I forgot I needed to wait for this YouTube video. All right, now we are live. Cool. All right. What's up, guys? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of Said Connects here live from the TGN Latinx station. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is exciting. Um, I'm here with my co-host B. B,
Yep.
what's up, B? How are you?
What up? What up? I'm chilling.
Good. For all our new listeners out there, we are Said Connects. Said is Cannabis Entrepreneurial Dialogues. Again, I'm Danny, and I'm here with the newest member of the family, B. The mission of this podcast and this show is really it's a mission to create spaces for people of color and people and brands of color that are in the cannabis industry to be able to elevate their stories and educate and empower our communities through storytelling. Um, Before we get moving and before we get started, we got a few sponsors that we want to shout out. Thank you for all the sponsors. What's up, B? Let's go through this.
All right, we're gonna try this out. Let's see. Adore LA is a faith-based community. The mission is to gather as we are and reclaim faith for queer, POC, and marginalized communities. They have two events coming up: Dia de los Muertos on November 1st, and dinner service is coming up. You can find them on our link tree. For more information, check them out on Instagram, Discord, and Facebook at Adore LA.
And just a little info, a little backstory on Adore LA. Um, we've been a part of that community for a few years now, and so
Yeah.
there it's real special to us, to my personal family. Um, and then that's how B and I met.
Yeah,
We met
definitely.
through Adore LA. And so those dinners that B mentioned, if anything, show up for
So
those
for the
dinners.
dinner.
That's why I go. I go for the food. And then secondly, our other sponsor that we have is La Familia. They're the first Mexican cannabis brand. You can find their products at all cookie stores, Stizzy, um, March and Ashes, all throughout California. And for more information on La Familia, make sure to check them out on Instagram, La Familia Chocolates. And you can see all that information on right if you're checking out our YouTube live. We got all that there. Um, and another thing, we got a big announcement coming. And we'll bring that a little later in this broadcast. But we have a huge partnership announcement to make, and we're definitely excited about this partnership. Um, so some excitement about this. I'm personally excited because if you would have asked me 5 years ago if I'd be doing radio, I think you're freaking crazy. This is wild.
Yeah, yeah.
Even last year, if you would have told me this last year, I still would have been like, "No, this is never gonna um, be on. I'd never be on radio." So for us to be here, evolving, just like the cannabis industry, that it's forever evolving right now,
Yeah,
and for said to now be on the airwaves, evolving just with the cannabis industry, I think is dope.
yeah,
And
for
so,
sure. Man, I was
um,
driving over here. I was like, man, what am I doing?
yeah, for sure. I was saying the same damn thing, and I had a longer drive. I had a 45-minute drive here, so
Yeah.
I was lost in my thoughts for a minute.
All right, fair.
But we have a special guest in the house. Um, if you want to queue up, we got a special guest here, a good friend of mine. Um, we have Miss Andrea Drummer in the building, folks, and we got the special intro for um, for Andrea. Every time I think of this song, "Stir Fry" from Migos, when it was on and popping back then, and you already know, you already know. When this song was on and popping, guys, this was around the time when
Oh,
Dre and I
man.
we were hosting dinners in folks in clients' homes and in wherever we could. Right, we'll talk more about
Oh, you make me
these
sick.
dinners, but this song would, for whatever reason, always play. And anytime I think of this song and I think of our events, I think of both of us in the back of the kitchen just dancing, having a good time.
Good times, man. We go way back.
Yeah,
Like
so I thought this was fitting to have this song
that.
playing to introduce you.
Hilarious. That's a good one. You got me.
Thank you, thank you.
You
But what's
got
up,
me.
Andrea? How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to be here and seeing how this is all unfolding
Yeah.
in so many ways, in so many respects. So thank you for having me on as the first guest.
Oh, and we're gonna talk more about that because it's fitting to have you as a first guest. So, and
Appreciate
we'll
you.
get into more of that. But um, before B, you got any questions? You want to start your day off?
Sorry, I blanked out, man. I was like, what? Hold on. My turn?
All right. Well, let's check the chat line. We got chats here. If you guys are listening to us live through the TGN Network app, there is a chat line, and you can go ahead and interact with us. Or if you're watching on us through YouTube, there's also leave us a message through YouTube, and we'll definitely shout you guys out. We see on the chat line. Goddess Lore, first show on TGN Latinx, baby. That's right. Thank you, Goddess Lore.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Uh,
But going back, so Dre, let's step back and let's take a few steps. Uh, where are you from, Dre?
Originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Moved here 2007 by way of Brooklyn, New York. So got a lot of history.
Dang, a lot of history in the East Coast,
Yeah.
Florida. I grew up out there too. I grew up in Miami.
Okay, so
As a kid.
you're
Yeah,
right up the
down.
street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, down the road. Grew up in North Miami Beach as a kid. So they're from many. My mom's still out there, Cutler Bay. So we're out there all the time.
How was that then?
How was it back then? I mean, I was a kid. I was there from like third grade to about a little before middle school.
Mm.
So from what I remember, it was hot, nasty hot, which it
Ugh.
still is.
It still is.
Right, it still
It
is.
still is disgusting.
But
hot.
it was fun. It was good. It was a great atmosphere. People are completely different than they are out here.
Yeah.
Um, and it's. I remember walking home from school, to and from school out there, so it was fun. Jumping into
Yeah.
the lakes and in the canals.
Yeah, have definitely changed from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida has some cannabis regulation, which I never would have thought that
Yeah,
to
what
be a
happened?
thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but it's crazy though. The regulations are insane.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And
They'll get it together. Everybody has to get on board.
yeah, for sure. I was just listening to some statistics on Florida and how they only have like maybe about 110 licenses out there for the
Mhm.
entire state, and of those 100 licenses, they're owned by what 13 companies, I
Yep.
think. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's some of the talk conversations that we'll be having
For sure.
through our time here at Site Connects. Um, so what brought you out to California?
Really just a change. New York can be a little taxing, grueling, and just got tired of that whole, grinding mentality. And at the time, I was working with a company, Rockcore, and they kind of had us traveling around the country. And one of our stops was here in California, in LA. And I was like, I can get down with this. So when it was
Yeah.
time to leave, my mom was like, you don't want to come back to Florida?
No, I'm good.
No, ma'am.
All right, and your mom's still out there?
Yeah. Yeah, all my family is still back east.
Nice,
Yeah.
cool. So talk to us about your cannabis journey. What was a message that you had about the plant growing up?
Oh, the message that I had was don't do it. You're going to end up in jail or on crack, on heroin, or
Yeah.
dead, or, like it was just all bad. And for the longest time, I supported that narrative. Of course, being from South Florida, religion played a great part in my life.
Yeah.
And so it was, I grew up in the era of just say no, where we were signing contracts in school, like
That's right.
junior
yeah.
high, like elementary
Yeah.
school, where it's like, I will never do drugs.
Right.
And so I subscribed to that narrative. And fun fact, I did try cannabis as a teen. It was probably 14. And it was a horrible experience. It was horrible for me because I didn't have any understanding of what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
Of course, it was given to me by an older person, and at that time, who knew what we were smoking, right?
Right.
Didn't have any understanding of strains, um, or like sativa versus indica. I had no any understanding of any of those things, right? And so I was cutting class, being a bad girl, and smoked cannabis and convinced my friend to take me back to school because I just felt cagey, and it was just I was really uncomfortable. And then I got back to school, and one of my best friends was like, "Andrea, what's wrong with you?" And again, I'm feeling cagey, so she's
Yeah.
in my personal space. Not a good combination of things.
Right.
And so I clocked her. I'm not proud of it at all. Um, all of that landed me in court, and I was
Oh,
on my
damn.
way to juvenile detention.
Oh man.
And
So then that really got like,
Yeah.
this is bad.
Oh,
yes,
This is definitely
this is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Just so you know,
Like,
where's
yeah.
that contract?
Yeah.
It's like
Give me that.
immediately like
Sign that.
consequences after. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
So yeah, I didn't. For the longest of time, I didn't subscribe, and I judged all of my friends who consume cannabis. Um, and then that led me into a career of being a drug prevention counselor.
Yeah. And that was gonna be that segue.
Yeah.
That drug prevention program. What was that all about? How was that? How did that? What was your day to day on that?
I was combining my skills as a dancer, so previously a choreographer, and working with young people. And it was always this messaging, the choreography of staying away from drugs or, all this goody two shoes stuff.
Yeah.
Which was good.
Yeah.
But it made it fun for them. So I did that many years, worked in nonprofit in different capacities from many years. It wasn't until I want to say my last job with nonprofit was here in LA. And that's when I was just like, I need to do something different because I don't believe this messaging anymore. So I had to shift gears. And at the time it was between food and fashion. And I kind of courted the both
Yeah.
equally and went with food. It was a good choice.
It was. It was. And so, and what going into that, man, you're like, are you watching? Are you looking at my notes?
No.
Because you're like segueing straight to my notes here.
Yeah, she studied. She studied.
All right. So then we got next on my notes here, cooking. What was that journey like going into cooking? Did you go to school for it? Is it something that you've kind of just knew from home? What's that like?
I've always been a pretty good cook. Some would say otherwise. Well, I'm
You're
being
right,
modest.
right.
And I've always done it. And I've always loved cooking, but I considered it a thing that you just had to know how to do as a woman once you leave home. So it was just a natural thing. I never thought of it as a career path. I never thought of working as a cook, but then I just started thinking about my food journey
Yeah.
and my food memory. And I'm like, why didn't I do this before? Stupid Andrea, get it together. And luckily I was in a position where I believe that it's never too late and that you can always pursue a dream and do something different or pivot or change your mind,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, after deciding on cooking, I went to Le Cordon Bleu and completely transitioned out of nonprofit and went straight away into hospitality and started working at the Ritz-Carlton, Los Angeles, downtown. And then upon graduation, I went straight away into the kitchen. So, yeah, it was just a natural progression once I put my mind to it.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm going to do.
Now that experience in the kitchen lately at home, and checking the chats here, we have Julia
We got
there. What's
Julia.
up? Saying, "Hey, chef."
Hey, what's up,
Sure.
friend?
So Julia and I, we've been watching. We've been stuck on Master Chef. we've been stuck on that, and so obviously we're paying attention to the challenges, and there's that one challenge when they're in the kitchen, and there's a lot of yelling and
Yeah,
going back and forth. Is
that
that the
culture.
same type of experience working at a kitchen like at the Ritz Carlton?
Well, you know what, the corporate space is a little different. I feel like restaurants are more aggressive and assertive, and they come with that level of culture. But the Ritz Carlton is like, we treat our staff like ladies and gentlemen, and we're good to them, and they're good to the people. Not doesn't always work out that way, but for the most part, it was very quiet. But there is a certain level of aggression in kitchens
Yeah.
across the board, I believe. And one of the things I want to do is to change that narrative and do it differently, and have the kitchen staff pay attention to their health, because the health is wealth. And when you take care of yourself, then you will take care of the people, because you feel good about you, and you're going to make sure that your clients and your customers are taken care of.
Yeah.
So that's important to me. And to make it not so grueling and taxing on your body. Like, you don't need to be here 15 hours a day. It's not healthy. You don't need to run around the kitchen. But you don't need to yell. Like, why are you yelling into food? That's putting it in your body. Like, what are you doing? Calm down. Everybody calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. B, you got any questions? You're gonna just leave it up to me, B.
Yeah. You know what?
Come on, B.
Yeah. So I didn't question. Around what age did you decide, like, you know what, I'm gonna switch gears? Like, I'm gonna go into the
That's
kitchen.
crazy. Because I have a birthday coming up, November 30th.
Hey.
And yeah, I was in my 30s, right? Yeah, I was in my 30s when I switched gears.
Yeah.
So, yeah, full disclosure, I'm turning 50.
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
There you go. Happy birthday, chef.
Happy birthday. Yeah.
So again, it's never too late. Never
Yeah.
too late. You can change your mind. You can change your life.
I love that. I definitely love that. I run into a lot of people, like, they're 22, 25, and they're like, man, I gotta figure it out. I'm just like,
No, you
man, you
don't.
got
You-
so much
You
time.
got time.
Yeah.
You got time.
Yeah.
Like, take it easy. Things will come,
Yeah.
focus on something, and that doesn't work, jump ship. Like, try something
else.
else.
Right.
You
It's
know?
not a failure. It's just you're just learning and growing and
Yeah.
evolving. Like,
Yeah.
I remember that phase, like feeling like, oh, I'm 23. I don't have my life together. Girl,
Yeah.
calm down. Like,
Definitely.
it's fine. Like, you just be courageous,
Yeah.
Be courageous, be curious.
Yeah. Be okay with it.
Well, that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I
I'm fucking
know.
36
I
and in
mean,
radio, right?
Yeah. 30. How old are we?
Crazy.
35?
I'm third. I just turned 36 on the 3rd of this month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Yeah. 35.
we made the switch too,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do it too.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep doing it, because one thing that's inevitable is change and death.
Yeah.
So
Make that shit happen.
before death, get with the change.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Just go with it.
So, when did cannabis come into the picture with cooking?
Interesting. When I was later in age when I got
Yeah.
into the kitchen. So most of these kids are super young. They started out when they were teenagers. They've been running around kitchens most of their lives. And for me, my body was like, what are we doing again? What's happening?
Yeah.
And so I started experiencing different ailments. I had a bout with sciatica, I had, fractured or torn tendons, and just things were happening that was completely unfamiliar to me, especially because I've always been an athlete and pretty active. But it does not compare. You really need to train to to be in that industry. But in that, my doctors kept prescribing me opioids, and it's just like, that's not an option. And so at the time, I thought the only other option was to figure out how to exist in pain.
Yeah.
I would just have a lifetime of pain. Um, and then someone's like, try cannabis. And by now, there was a complete shift in my thinking, having, been in LA for as long as I have, and seeing other people consume, and they were good, great people. They were smart, intelligent, hardworking. So I had a mind shift from when I was in nonprofit. Um, and so, it was suggested I try it. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. And I did, and the pain subsided. And I was like, nah.
This can't be true.
It
No,
can't
what?
be true. They told me it was a gateway drug. And so I was just like, wow. But then, of course, you start thinking about these things more cerebrally. And I'm thinking, okay, we live in a state that has had legalization for upward 20 plus years. So why is it that my livelihood is challenged if I consume cannabis and maintain a job? Like, I could be terminated from my job.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense to me. And that was really at the beginning of my career. I graduated in 2010 from culinary school. By 2012, I'm like, let's just take these two new passions and put them together. And so by 2012, I've been employed by myself solely.
Nice.
Hey,
That's
man,
dope.
for sure. That's something, you know, definitely to be applauded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly has been a journey, I don't want to take away the segue. So I'm waiting.
Oh, no, you're good. Keep it
Nah,
going.
go.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, because of that, the journey was, it wasn't always uphill, or maybe so, maybe depends on how you look at it. Um, but because of that, and because of the evolution of edibles and how it's changing, and I was looking at it a lot differently. I had to pivot and create something to educate people on edibles, and not just edibles, but on all cannabis. Should I keep going, Danny? Because
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm only
Yeah,
laughing.
no.
I wish I could show you the notes because I'm telling you,
Hey, she
you're
studied.
following it.
Yeah, she
You're not
definitely-
even seeing it. You're following it.
Okay.
No, you're good. You go ahead.
So for that reason, and wanting to educate people, I created the brand said Cannabis Entrepreneur Dialogues. And it wasn't just for me, it was for other cannabis entrepreneurs, that I wanted them to be able to talk about the evolution of what they were doing and how they were changing the game or coming up with other creative ideas, until everyone else got on board, until it became like, oh, now when I first started, I had to try to pay people to eat the food. They were like, I'm like, okay, all right, okay, $10, $7, $6.99. Like, they would not pay for the food. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is crazy. And so I had to pivot and come up with this other brand, until again people got hip to it and understood that the edibles experience is vastly different now. It's not only your brownie or your cake pop or your gummy. There are different things happening in the space, and it should evolve as with life and anything else. So I had to teach people that, and not just myself. Of course, there are other people in the game that are talking about it and thinking about it differently. So you just had to wait it out.
Yeah.
At any point in that, like having to pay people, were you like, man, like, do I really have to do
Yeah.
this?
I'm like, are you
Like-
dumb? I'm just I'm a
I'm-
classically trained
look.
chef.
Look. Like,
I was so pissed.
if I know you and somebody's offering you free food and you say no, man, we're not friends.
Well, it was that every person that I would encounter, again, they were deathly afraid. It was like, no, I tried edibles before, and now, and you want to
Yeah.
offer me a 4-course meal of
Yeah.
edibles? That's no, ma'am. Like, they were not interested. They were afraid of the experience.
Yeah.
And
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Hey guys, when So, hey guys, it's Mysterious Jackson. I'm just sitting here and like, I'm one of those people that would probably have been like, no, I'm not gonna eat this food. Last time I ate a brownie, I thought I was gonna die. You think I'm gonna eat a
Exactly.
6-course meal? So I gotta ask you, because back then we weren't really knowledgeable on how much percentage milligram was in it, how much dosage. Do you tell people like the overall dosage they're gonna receive in this meal?
Absolutely.
So what's like a common dosage?
So it depends on the client, but like I microdose, and it's very important to really understand your product and where your product comes from, and the level of THC in your product, and then how to break that down and make it make sense in terms of portion size. So you can't just like, when I first started, I was trying to learn about cannabis. I saw this one chef just like take a bunch of trim and just throw it in a pot of butter. And I was like, that's not going to be fun. And so for me, I mean, I think it harkens back to my first cannabis experience. I never want anyone to have that experience. And also combine that with the fact that I came into the game as a patient, so it was important for me. So there's a trifecta. There's my first experience. I came in as a patient, and I'm a chef, and I want you to enjoy the food.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would be counterproductive for me to like overdose the thing that you can't enjoy the culinary experience.
Yeah.
So it was just important for me to understand that, and so that began for me. It started with knowing. Like it's like a purveyor of anything, like if I'm sourcing fish or chicken, I want to go to the best people. I want it to be really good product. And so that's how I look at cannabis. I want really good product.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've talked about it. I had a horrible, horrible experience with
What was your
edibles.
experience, B?
Jeez.
Oh, the worst cannabis
Yeah,
edible
yeah.
experience.
Yeah, what was your
Go.
worst
Yeah,
cannabis?
yeah, the
Let's
worst.
hear it, B.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of years ago, I had a job. I fell off the ladder, 6 foot ladder. I fell, and everything. And so, 2 years after that, I'm good. I'm still suffering from little vertigo and everything after that.
Mm.
And then I hang out like my friend. He's just recently moved here from Texas, and so I'm like, yo, he's like completely full in like cannabis and like eating edibles and smoking and dabbing and everything. So I go over and he's like, yo, have some of this edible, and it doesn't taste like it's a Rice Krispie, so
Right.
it tastes sweet. So I'm like, all right, I get a little corner, that should be good. But you get distracted.
Because it's good.
It's good, and halfway down the Rice Krispie, I was like, all right, I'm good. I should go home though. I get home, vertigo kicks in. Something
Wow.
about that, it just triggered the vertigo, and I'm in the shower at that point. It was my girlfriend, my wife now, and calls my friend. She's never allowed to take this again. Like, you cannot do this. Like, I'm dealing with it like, she's pale white, and I don't remember a lot. I remember the last thing I remember is being on the floor and her saying, your lips have no color.
Oh no.
And so after that I was like, all right, never again edibles.
Yeah,
And so
that's
then-
no fun.
Yeah, met
Yeah.
Danny, and then started doing a little bit of edible, controlling definitely dosage,
Right.
knowing, like, understanding a lot more, and be like, all right, I can do a little bit, I know my limit, and I don't have to consume a whole Rice Krispie.
Yeah.
Right. But I also, for me, it was just like, that's not how people eat food.
Yeah.
I don't, if I buy gummies, I'm probably going to eat at least a handful.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat a gummy ear. Like that's not realistic. No, just lick the leg. You'll be good.
Yeah, it's true. That's
So
true.
that was superbly important for me. My first edible experience. I thought it was bad, but clearly not. So I kept I was making my own butters at the time, and someone asked me to make brownies and cookies and such. And I did, but as I was smelling the butter, I was like, this smells amazing. Like, because I'm not really into sweets too much, not much at all. So I was like, no, it wants to be something different. So I made bruschetta, and I ate too many. And so I was at home with who later became my two business partners, and I was flying like we were on one. But it was a happy high.
Yeah.
And so that's when my friend was like, we gotta sell this. Like, we gotta do this. And I was like, no, we can't sell this to people. And she was like, what? You don't want people to be happy? Are you happy? Look at your cheeks. And I was like, no, we can't do it. And she takes her hand and is like, shut up. And so I have this chalkboard table. So we just took out some chalk and started mapping out the plan of how, like, what are we going to do? And I was like, oh, we have to do this. And we started coming up with the logo and like the whole nine. And so, yeah, that was my bad edibles experience that led to the opening of a whole cafe.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we got Goddess Lore saying, yes, chef, turning 50. Then never too late to mix it up.
Absolutely.
And then I've been wanting a cannabis culinary experience for a long time.
Well, come on, get into it. Get into it. You got your girl here.
We got Edwin. I know someone that would never say no to that full meal. Yeah.
That's dope. Shout out to everyone in the comments.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So I know we touched on the importance of dosage. One thing that stood out to me was when you brought up the gummies and the sugars, right? And if we're looking at patients, if we bring it back to the patient piece, right? One of the things that stood out is the sugar patients. There's a lot of patients that can't take sugar because maybe diabetes or whatnot.
Yeah.
So with that, how would you cater a meal for a patient that doesn't have sugar? Like, what does your meal look like?
For me, I mean, again, just really understanding the industry, and what we know is the largest demographic of people that are entering or re-entering into cannabis consumption are senior citizens. And so senior citizens, they aren't consuming a lot of sugar, and they're not necessarily going to light up to consume. And so in taking that into consideration, like, it just makes sense to do savory based foods. And I love them myself. And that's how I prefer to consume. So, you can do anything from duck confit or, but one of the things that I really want to bring to bear is salad dressings. Very easy way to consume. Not a lot of sugar, simple to make, and it's easy to dose. And so, things like that. Soups even are easy to dose and have a full meal and a hearty meal. Of course, everyone loves a good grilled cheese. So, so that's an adult grilled cheese with like 5 different cheeses and some beefsteak tomatoes. I'm getting hungry.
There you go.
We got Marquez on over there saying, hey. That's Dre right there. That's actually the person responsible for that Rice Krispie.
She's snitching on you.
Yeah. So when you talk about making the soups and you're talking about or the salad dressings, is it something that anyone can do, and how can one find information on like proper dosing?
It's really Google her.
Google. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a math equation, but they have apps now that you could align your dose if you understand again where your product comes from and the THC levels of your
Of that
particular
product.
project. So there are apps that you can easily figure out the dosage of your food, but you also have to know, as a chef, what your portion size is, because I mean you might have like, okay, this is going to be 20 milligrams, but now if you make an oversized portion, now you're talking
You're gonna want to put more of
60,
that
80
dressing. Yeah.
milligrams. So you have to be very cognizant of that. But again, there are products coming on the market.
Oh, you guys heard it here first.
Hey.
So yeah, hopefully when that comes to bear, again, it'll be easy for you to just take the product and use it accordingly. Whether
Yeah.
it's a soup, it's already pre-dosed. It's not, you're not going to get a soup and then I have to take like 4 scoops of the soup. No, enjoy the soup. Like if
Yeah.
you go to Trader Joe's and buy a soup, you might have, but you're not eating 4
Yeah.
spoonfuls.
I personally like edibles even more now after
Mhm.
our experiences. And I've said this in the past, just because I feel like I can control my
Right.
experience.
Right.
Right. Where versus if I'm taking if I'm smoking, like if I inhale too much,
Mhm.
then that experience is gonna be completely
Yeah,
different.
absolutely.
So for me personally, I love being able to control that experience.
Right.
And so my go to normally is edibles. And
Absolutely.
now I just got turned on to drinks.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely.
now-
I've tried a few of the drinks. Um, but yeah, again, I like the edible because the drinks, of course, are going to typically be sweeter. And-
yeah, they are.
But
But- but-
there is a product, I don't remember the name of it, but it's like a powder and it's water soluble. So you can literally just pour it into a cup of water. The only problem with it is that you can't, I mean, you have to be careful of this anyway, is that you can't pour it into like a hot tea
Oh, okay.
because it changes the composition and efficacy of it.
Because of the heat.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We got Goddess Lotus says the math always fucks me up. Yeah.
I was never good at math either.
Yeah.
I'll just
I
have
get
I'll
you.
just have it cooked for me.
Yeah. Man, that's exciting though.
So talk to us a little more about I know you're owner and founder of Elevation VIP.
Mhm.
Give us a little
Yeah,
info on
so
that.
that was all
that was that experience that
that
you were
was
talking
that
about earlier.
experience.
So
Yeah,
that was
so
Elevation VIP.
came up with Elevation VIP. Again, the idea is to elevate the edibles experience. Um, and we only put VIP on the end because someone had Elevation when we filed for,
All the licenses and all
license.
that.
Yeah. And I just thought that it may be a good, people like high end, classy stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't working in the beginning. They were like, I don't care. I'm not eating that.
And now they're soaking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because we were talking about this a little before we went on live, but
We got somebody right here
The-
that says, I want to hear Danny's worst edible experience.
all right, we'll get to that one too. Don't worry, we'll get to that experience. But before that, before I lose my thought, those dinners that we would have,
Mhm.
those were always fun, just because we were educating the clients,
Yes.
right? And so there was that educational piece that we've always had, and making sure that and also understanding that there's other elements going on within the dinner,
Right.
right? There's some of them that were having alcohol with their meals, and so understanding that those activities, as well as those that are working the event, as myself, I was serving along with Julia, that those are some of the things that we looked out for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and being mindful. When I first started, I didn't want alcohol consumption at the dinners, but I thought, well, that's presumptuous of you, Andrea, because you're new to this, but they true to this. So some people crossfade, and I had to be forgiving of, like, that's your experience and that's your choice.
Yeah.
But we we did implement, like we were very mindful of watching and keeping an eye on the client
Yeah, that was
and
going to be my
taking,
question.
yeah, taking care of them. And another thing that we would have a masseuse, a massage therapist come in just in case, you know, you got a little too wavy and you need to be calmed down. We'd also have CBD water there to make, you know, again, all these things to make sure the experience is top notch and that we're taking care of the client. And that was super important to me. Again, going back to people being deathly afraid of the experience to begin with. So I wanted to do everything and within my power to make sure that the experience was a pleasant one and that they would leave thinking, wow, not so bad. Not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the important because we want them coming back.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember the menus would always look like two dose on the first course and maybe three on like the main,
Right.
and then bringing it back down to keep that level of
Mhm.
experience throughout
Right.
the entire course. Because as we're eating, like the entire meal would took about an hour and a half, maybe two
Maybe 2
for
hours.
folks
'Cause
as they're eating.
Oh yeah, because we didn't want the experience to be, because you got to see how people are gonna feel. So
Yeah.
after the first course, like you good,
Yeah.
and at any point you can tap out.
Mhm.
You know, you might get to the third course and be like, okay, I'm good. Just go ahead and wrap up my dessert, please.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true.
Oh, for
And
real?
we would get those folks that would come into the space and be like, I smoke all day. I can do this. I
Right.
got pour extra on mine.
Yeah.
And then they don't even last the first course. And then we're like, all right, we'd have to go back and like, hey, let's stop table 3. Like, let's bring it down on
Exactly.
plate 3
Yeah.
because
Send him a dud. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Goddess Loaded, bruh. I need this experience.
we'll try to make this happen.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Serious. Yeah, we gotta do it. We gotta do a pop up.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got Dre. Yeah, that sounds good. And Julia. I love that no one was ever excluded. You could literally continue eating the delicious food and not those at all if needed.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience with edibles
Yeah.
because, and then I did use a lot of sativas, but I would try to balance it and like maybe like during the third, fourth course, you do an indica. So you're balancing the experience. But, you know, with smoking, it is considerably different. And the strains that I use would give you more of like a body high
Mm.
and it just like relaxed you. But it always made them happy because I, again, using sativas. So coming in, sometimes I would do dinners with people that didn't know each other necessarily. It would be like a curated experience. And they would come in and be a little tentative, like, oh, you know, no one's talking to each other. And I would just keep my back to the crowd and just listen. And then you would just hear the change and the shift in energy as they continue to eat. And like this crescendo, like the laughter got bigger. Everyone was like palling around. Like that was my favorite part.
I was about to say because
And in the background,
you smiled a
stir
bit
fry.
when you said that. Definitely. Yeah, I'm in love with stories. So hearing people just get together and definitely enjoy the experience.
And what better place to share stories than at the table, right? Having a meal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those two experiences being so communal,
Yeah.
cannabis is very communal. Food is communal.
Yeah.
So to bring those two together and to hear, like you can literally hear the client becoming more of themselves. At one point I was actually doing the dinners at that same chalkboard table. And by course 3, we would just put chalk out and just watch what happened. And by the end of the night, there would be murals, there were people dancing, there was people singing. Like it would just be like a beautiful, happy, exuberant experience. Unlike going to a bar and having too many drinks, or you're falling out of the club. Like, no, this is a happy place.
Yeah.
And you wake up feeling brand new.
Exactly.
We got Keith. Good news. I still can't fuck with edibles.
It's because you haven't found the right one, bro. That's what
Yeah,
it
you
is.
haven't found the right
yeah,
one.
definitely. Then we got God is Lord. It sounds so yummy. Yeah, definitely.
So I know that when with our times too, we've had a few um, features and experiences. Talk to us about some of those experiences. Like I know you've been on Chelsea Does and
Mm.
Cooking on High, Netflix Cooking on High. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I've heard some mixed reviews about Cooking on High. So I definitely want to hear your take on that experience because I watched it and I don't know if anyone else has seen. I don't know if you've seen it. Be Cooking on High. It's on Netflix.
No.
I think it like
Yeah.
came out like a few years ago, maybe a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I think. And well, I was excited to hear about it. I was excited to see it when you first told me about it. And then when I watched it, I was I was happy that there was something out.
Hmm.
I was happy that they're highlighting this experience that's out there. But I feel like the production was conflicted in how they want to present
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
with everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're onto something. I think it's important to. It's like it's like back in the day, only having good times to watch. It's so there has to we have to create a space where we can tell these stories and talk about cannabis in every capacity. And not for nothing, it was a very new and progressive concept for them to even do
Right.
or attempt. And so that was a good thing, and it opened the doors to other things.
Yeah.
So that was good. I did feel like I would do it differently. Just
Yeah,
as
for sure.
we're having real conversation, and it's not something like to be made fun of or to
Right. And I think and that's the part where I felt
right,
that the conflicting part
right.
of that the assessment was because of the quote unquote judges that they had on the
Mhm.
show and how there were these influencers that one I've never heard of, but two, it was just like the comments that were being made
Yeah.
about the meal and the presentation that I know you as a chef worked so hard to put out, but also all the other chefs that were on there. And it
Hmm.
looked like all of the other chefs were very, professional in that
Oh,
sense. And,
they all, and
and
I'm still in touch with a lot of them today.
right.
But
So,
yeah, the judges were like really stoner forward.
yeah.
Again, we want to give space to everyone,
Yeah.
in the industry. Um, but I would suspect that moving forward, there will be other concepts to really speak about this more cerebrally and in a
Right.
way that makes more sense. Because stoners, they got it on lock. They know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Definitely.
again, we're talking to a whole new demographic of people who are coming into this space,
Yeah.
and we have to allow a platforms for them to speak and to educate them and
Yeah.
continue, like said.
There you go. There you go. The other features that I had fun doing with you were those Spotify series.
Oh, those were. Oh, I wish we could bring the band back.
Those Spotify series
I
were
wish we
dope.
could bring the band back, but
For everyone about that's listening, there were it was during the holidays, right?
well, we did four. It was a series of four. It's called Breaking Bread. Um, and we would kind of host these different celebrities. And yeah, again, it was a partnership with Spotify that I EP'd. And so they would, the first was Wale. Were you there for that one?
No.
Yeah, that one was interesting because Wale he's different.
Yeah.
He's
I
different.
think Julia told me about that one.
Yeah,
Though.
he's different. So he would just
Yeah.
get up, leave the table in like mid sentence. Um, but we were a little nervous, to be honest, because we were like, we don't know what this is going to look like. But the editing was superb, and they got what they needed. So the second was what is his name? He has locks, rapper.
The Ty Dollar Sign.
Yeah, Todd.
Yeah, I heard he couldn't handle it.
Oh, damn. Hey, man. I put Dre on blast. You did something else.
I'm just telling you how what I heard. I'm just what I
No,
heard.
What I
heard.
heard.
I heard.
They really were. It was intense because of course the food is infused, right? But they came in. Mike Dean was there in attendance, and he came in with these two like gallon-sized bags of cannabis. So not only are they consuming by way of edibles, but they're also smoking. And then Mike Dean makes this what he called the tarantula. So they were smoking that, and then I hear that was first that I knew that Ty Dolla Sign could sing, but he started singing. I was like, "Who is that crooning?" And then by the end of the dinner, he just had his head down on the table. It's like I'm tapping out. And then the third one was the holiday one.
Yeah,
That
okay. Those
was
were the
with-
last two, right? With Nori, and then we had with Miguel.
Yeah, Noriega, Miguel,
Wiz
Treasy,
Khalifa.
Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Like they thoroughly enjoyed themselves. Like I still have photos of myself and Miguel just cracking up. He was like, "You
Yeah.
think you're
I love
slick,
Miguel.
don't you?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And it was his birthday that day too. So
The
there was like
singer
this whole,
Miguel?
yeah, the singer
Oh,
Miguel.
I love Miguel.
Yeah. And so, and it was his birthday that day. So like they had this whole, we had a cake there for him.
yeah,
And we had like this, it was like this whole party going on, and it was dope just to be able to like have that alone time and like intimate,
it's very
that
intimate.
intimate
Yeah.
moments with these high profile, quote unquote
Yeah.
profile folks, like individuals that it was dope to like even just I was chilling in the room with Wiz Khalifa because we were in there and we were accommodating to whatever their needs
Yeah.
were with food, drinks, and whatnot. And I went in to go make sure that he was good, and he was like, "Come here, man, chill, have a seat." And we were just there chopping it up, talking, and it was real dope.
Yeah.
And so from there, and then transitioning to the meal, and then serving,
Yeah.
it
And
was
we
fun.
would have like a VIP room. It's like they're all VIPs. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And even at the end of that dinner, they were like taking photos, and like the crew was like, "Get together," the
Mhm.
artists. And I was about to walk off, and Wiz grabbed me. He was like, "You're an artist too," and
That's right.
I was like,
Yeah,
Aw.
definitely.
"Yeah, very gracious human, very gracious human being." Like,
Yeah.
and their whole team, like everyone that ever came, were super cool and super kind and very respectful of the staff and what we were doing and what we were trying to create.
Yeah.
And then the last one, I actually hosted the table with some female rappers.
Yeah, I know the one of them that I remember. I only remember because Julia was excited about it. Was Caliuchis.
Yes.
So
Oh.
Caliuchis was there, and she also was great. Like they were all.
Yeah, they were all great.
It was a fun time there with them.
Yeah.
Y'all need to reach out to Snoop.
Come on, Snoop. Where you at?
Yeah, I
Where
mean,
you at?
We got it. We can take care of you guys.
Yeah.
No, I really would love to see that happen again. And you never know. Like said, it was dormant for a while, and
Yeah.
and look at you.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, Dre, you've been in my notes. I'm gonna show you this at the end, and you're gonna see that this all went down.
You know what
to
it
plan.
is? We have history,
Yeah,
and when we've been through. I mean, how far back?
it's going on like 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, has it been that?
Well,
It
yeah,
seems like
4 years.
longer.
Yeah, no, it's been about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No, it's
we know
but
the
you know
story.
what? It's been longer because
I think it is.
baby's 3,
Yeah.
or gonna be 3. So
No,
yeah,
it's definitely longer.
yeah,
Because it was way back. I remember when you and Julia first started dating. So
right.
it's been-
Yeah, so it's been a month. It's been a while.
yeah.
But going into said, one of the things that I noticed as we were preparing, even for just like the podcast, is that you don't see representation of us
Mhm.
speaking about cannabis or even having these conversations. There's podcasts out there.
Right.
There's a lot of shows out there that are doing educational pieces, but none of the individuals that are speaking on it look like us. Is that
Mhm.
something that led you to create said?
You know what? Initially, it wasn't. Um, it was it was really like just the educational component. But then when I got there, like when I showed up to my first set, I'm like, where are we? So to be honest, I was a little nervous, and it wasn't just said. It was, all the conferences I would go to and these different spaces for cannabis entrepreneurs, and I was like, where is the representation?
Yeah.
And that was particularly disheartening for me because we've been impacted the most with the war on drugs and criminalizing cannabis. So, I'm of the belief that Black and brown people should have a hand in every cannabis endeavor in some capacity, right? And then, so I think it was like the second set that I did. Um, I had Armando from DPA come to speak, and Armando put a whole different, like, after he spoke, I was just like, yep, we got to shift gears. This has to look different. We have to bring other, we have to have representation, because he spoke um, very passionately to that point.
Yeah.
And so the beauty of having him there, he had the opportunity to see. But even then, he was just like, this is the most brown people I've seen at an event such as this. And I would say maybe a month later, he came to me and said, or came to Hamidi and I and said, let's do something here. And at the time, we were really pushing the effort to legalize adult consumption, moving beyond medicinal.
Yeah.
And he was working on that campaign for Drug Policy Alliance. And he's like, I think, we can partner here. And he ended up giving us a grant. So that's when said really kind of started to evolve, and people were like into it. Like people were driving from San Francisco to present. So yeah, and it just grew its wings, but it just quickly evolved for me in my head.
Right.
Like, we have to have representation.
Yeah. Yeah. And how does it feel for you to think back on those earlier events and some of the presenters that have presented, and now looking at them now and where they're at within the industry? How does that make you feel to have provided a platform for them?
What's crazy is that I think I just kind of keep my head down and just try to do the work of the people. But when I look back on the journey, I'm like, wow, I I was in these streets. Like I was, even with Spotify, we first partnered with Lowell, and at the time, I didn't know that Lowell was a new brand.
Yeah.
Um, and so they would, we would have their product host their products at those dinners, and that just catapulted them into a whole nother stratosphere, to the point like when I first went to the Lowell office and I'm seeing all these pictures of those dinners,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the brands from said, yeah, just to see what they're doing. I remember Whitney Beatty.
Yeah.
That was her first speaking engagement.
Yeah.
She's doing phenomenal things now.
Yeah. Shout out to Whitney.
Yeah.
I think her shop's opening up next month.
Yes. Yes.
Josephine and Billy's
Yes.
out on I think MLK and Western. Went to go visit the shop. And it was still under construction, and I had a few words with her, and so she was really
Oh.
excited about everything going on. So yeah, shout out
Yeah.
to you, Whitney.
Miss Kindness.
Miss
Club
Kindness, yeah.
She was one of the first presenters. And unfortunately, a lot of the other products, I think that they were just ahead of their time.
Right.
Like I remember this one gentleman, he had a tea, and it was ahead of its time. There was another gentleman who had rolled cigars, which it was just too fancy for then. But
now
And-
it's
but now
it's
it's
in
a
the market.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're right, because now it's in the market. I think one of those
Right.
brands is El Blunto.
Yeah.
El Blunto
Yep.
is
Yeah.
that looks like cigars,
Mhm.
No,
and yeah, and they're now big.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah,
I haven't
just
smoked one, but man, they look pretty.
yeah,
Yeah,
I tried it.
you try. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, we
No,
got
yeah,
thumbs up.
It's
I
good.
I spoke, and I'm waiting on the response, but from the owner of El Blunto,
Mhm.
so we'll hopefully be having him soon. Um, but one of the things that I've learned from him when they're making their joints is they don't grind it up. They don't grind
Right.
their flour up.
Mhm.
They keep the whole
Little
small
buds.
little
Mhm.
buds, and their their the reasoning behind it was similar to juicing. If you
Mhm.
grind up the fruits and vegetables,
Yeah.
it's
Mm,
taking away from
yeah.
the nutrients,
Yeah.
and so that's the belief system with them as well in their products, is they don't want to grind up the flour
Yeah.
to reduce the properties of the plant. They want to still keep it
Exactly.
whole so that their consumers can experience the entire plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes, depending on what you're using to grind your product, that's also important.
Mm.
Because some grinders will heat up the plant. So, and it changes the composition.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I know I had another one here for you. B, you
Before
got
you do,
anything? What's up? Oh,
before
go
you
ahead.
do, we
Yeah,
got
go ahead. Go
God
ahead.
is loaded. Said not Miguel. I would not be able to take my eyes off of him, just soaking it all in. Oh, we got Edwin. Let's see, sharing a blunt with Wiz Khalifa. That's goals for sure.
Yeah. That was a good time.
Yeah,
Very
that was
good. That table was awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, they really enjoyed themselves.
yeah.
Miguel, I think he probably enjoyed himself the
Mm-hmm.
most.
Yeah. I was just excited that my hand made it to the screen because I was holding the plate as they showed the thing. I was like, my hand, I made it.
Puts a plate.
Yeah, Vanna White. Got any other questions, B?
Nah, I mean,
I guess I should maybe answer Edwin's request. It would be a challenge to get him high. Oh, Snoop. Yeah, I'm sure it will. Oh, that's Ed.
that's
Ed,
Ed.
Ed. It would be a challenge to get Snoop to get high. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. I know Edwin had a question earlier about my
yeah.
edible experience.
Yeah.
My first edible experience, and I shared this on the ladies' night episode, but I was out at a bar and it was a friend, it was my brother's friends, and they were celebrating their birthday, and they had cake pops at the bar,
Mm.
and so I had the cake pop thinking they were just regular cake pops, and so I ate it, and I thought something tasted a little off, but I was also drinking. I was also drinking, and we were playing beer pong, and it was karaoke night. We were at Big Wang, so we're singing the night away, we're drinking the night away. I had my cake pop, and I had the whole cake pop.
Oh,
And with edibles, as we all know, like it takes a while to hit,
yeah.
and so it,
Mm.
it didn't hit me until after we left Big Wang's, and we're already in the car driving back home. We're on the freeway, and I'm sitting in the back seat, and I tell my brother, like, "Hey, I think someone spiked my drink." And I'm like, what? Why would anyone spike your drink, bro? And I was like, there was hot ladies there looking at me, guys, and could have easily spiked
Any
my
hot
drink.
lady.
And they were like, no. And they were like, did you have one of those cake pops? And I was like, I did. And they're like, bro, you're just high. And I was like, oh, because I felt like when I was experiencing telling them that, I feel like someone spiked my drink. While I'm explaining it to them, I feel like my body is like just feeling extra heavy. I felt like the blood rushing through my veins. Like it was bad, and I was starting to like get paranoid. I'm on the freeway, and I start to feel my chest, my heartbeat, and then I hear myself breathing, and it was this whole experience that it wasn't a good feeling, and it lasted for like 2 days. Because I remember even waking up and I
Wow.
was still
Yeah.
high, and so
Wow.
it was bad. And I told myself I'm not gonna do it again. and then months later I did it again.
It wasn't a drink, guy. It
It
was
wasn't
that
a
Gorilla
drink.
Glue flavored
Yeah.
K-pop that you
It
had.
was that K-pop. But yeah, that was definitely my first experience, and it took me a while. It wasn't. Honestly, it wasn't until we started working together that I started trying edibles
Yeah.
again, and
Because
it
when
was
said we would have even said remember like at first people weren't coming. It was like it's a free event.
yeah,
And we had a whole wine bar. We would do a tray pass. And but yeah, I think that kind of acclimated people and introduced edibles to
yeah,
folks like yourself.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for it now too, and so is my mom. 'Cause my mom gobbles those things up, man. And she's out in Florida, and because my mom, like, she has become allergic to opioids and all of the pharmaceutical meds that have been given to
Yeah.
her. So her only alternative now is the
Yeah.
plant, and she doesn't like to smoke.
Right.
She hates smoking, and so she turned to edibles. And so there's times where, like, I've sent some edibles, when she's here.
Right.
You know
You
what I mean?
sent them down the street
Down the
when
street
she
to her
came to visit.
house.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
She's
mean,
like, give me some more of them
yeah,
gateway
give me some,
drugs.
give me some more. Give me some more. But that's again in that conversation, as you know, a Latino household, like, it was never thought of,
Yeah.
right? And it was always looked as a negative thing. So now, 20, 30 years later,
I
my
know, isn't
mom's
that
asking
crazy?
for it from me.
Yeah,
It's
my mom is
crazy.
like, because again, very religious upbringing, but they are very open. So my mom, she'll use CBD products. Um, she's like, I don't want to get high. I'm like, did you see your medical cabinet, lady?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my mom's very religious, and up to this day, I mean, it's kind of the taboo, right? I've seen that. Remember they used to give them this little plastic bottles that look very like
Mhm.
medicine.
Mhm.
My mom had the same bottle in her drawer, like forever. Like won't even put it in alcohol because it's like, oh, it's weed.
Yeah.
It's like I can't do that. But that plant's been sitting there for like 5 years.
That's so wild. I'm like, yeah, I'm always like astounded how I've completely done a 360. Like my mind is completely changed and has shifted from that train of thought. And my thought was when I started this industry and why I went full steam ahead is if I can change my mind, we're about to change the mind of the world.
Yeah.
And it's one said podcast at a time.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
there
go.
you go.
So we're coming to the end of this. But where can folks find you, Drea?
Um, you can meet me at the trap now.
Ooh.
You can catch me on IG at Canna_Queen71. Have a few projects coming up. I kind of keep things a little close to my vest until I have something announced. Because again, I'm always working on behalf of people. I really want to create more job opportunities, just more opportunities for people in the space. Yeah.
Dope.
But follow me and I'll keep you up to speed.
There you go. And we got to finish out our announcement. I brought up early in the beginning of this episode. We have this partnership that we have to announce. B, do you want to do the honors, or should I?
You should.
All right. So in this month and a half that we've been preparing to get on TJ and Latinx, we've been working really hard to get partners and sponsors. And today we just qualified, and we've partnered with Grass Door Delivery. So for all our listeners out there, Grass Door Delivery, they're one of the largest cannabis delivery services here in the state of California. Um, and if you've never had your products delivered to you, maybe you should, because it's one of the best experiences, not have to get up and to come straight to your home, right? But we have partnered with them, and if you log on to grassdoor.com and you place your order, um, if you go ahead and type in said connects at the checkout, you'll get 20% off your first three orders.
Whoop, whoop.
First
Yep.
three orders, guys. So and Green Grass Door, they deliver all throughout Los Angeles. They deliver throughout San Diego, Inland Empire, Orange County, and even in the Bay. So all throughout the Bay, San Francisco, Oakland, San
Nice.
Jose. So for all our listeners here in California, um, go ahead, check out Grass Door, put said connects on your checkout, and you'll get 20% off your first three orders. Not just one, but first three. So I'm excited
Nice.
about that. I'm gonna place my order pretty soon. You guys should too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir.
Last few more things. We'll be live every Monday at 4:20 p.m. We finally got over the hump. I finally got over my nerves once this thing started. But we'll be live every Monday here at the Good News Radio Network and TGN Latinx. Want to thank them too for even just believing in
Yes.
us and really like trusting that we'll come in and we'll come hard and really produce some educational pieces. And so I'm excited and I'm grateful to TGN Latinx. Um, got a few more sponsors that we got to shout out. Some of our equity sponsors. We have Seventh Wave and 4Gs. We have Joyous 420 and their brands with Fuego 415 and The Fizz. And we got Bianca Star Agency. Those are our social equity sponsors that have helped us throughout this month. And again, we want to thank you, Drea, for coming, being our
Absolutely.
first guest.
Thank you for having me. I
Mhm.
was a little nervous too, but this was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah,
This was
definitely.
fun.
And last but not least, are everyone that's tuning in, that's been in the chat line, on YouTube and on the radio app. Thank you guys for tuning in and making this an easy transition. And I love seeing all the comments. And for those that are tuning in after the fact, make sure you guys come in on Mondays at 4:20 so you can interact with us. You guys could even call us in if you're using the app. You know, want to hear your lovely voices too. So if you guys download the Good News Radio app, make sure you tune in, listen to us, go into the chat line, give us a phone call. We'd love to hear from everybody. But
Edwin says, I'm glad to know you weren't roofied.
thank you. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. B, you got anything else?
Oh, just excited,
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Next
Forget-
week, next Monday, we have a good friend of ours coming through. We're going to talk more about getting into the legal game. We're going to talk about manufacturing and distribution and what it takes to get that started. So if you're interested in what that looks like and what it looks like to start your cannabis business, make sure to tune in next week, Monday at 4:20, and we'll have that conversation. So definitely get in the chat lines and ask us those questions because we'll be here for you for that. And with that being said, we're out, guys.
Yep. Peace.
Did it close? We don't even know. See, this is how you guys know this is our first one. We're still here.
Thanks, I'm done. And that's a wrap.
Yeah.